Steven Spielberg and Robert Zemeckis welcome you to a really new year.
2015? You mean we're in the future?
I gotta check this out, Doc.
The intent here is to gain a clear perception of humanity. Where we've been, where we're going, the pitfalls and the possibilities, the perils and the promise.
Michael J. Fox.
Are we back?
Christopher Lloyd.
The future is dark!
Back to the Future Part 2, rated PG. Now playing at a theater near you.
Go ahead, kid! Jump! The suicide will be nice and neat.
What if I don't?
Lead poisoning.
What about the police, Biff? They're gonna match up the bullet with that gun.
Kid, I own the police! Besides, they couldn't match up the bullet that killed your old man!
You son of a...
I suppose it's poetic justice. Two McFLys with the same gun. Idiot. Hell? Oh!
Nice shot, Doc! You're not gonna believe this! We gotta go back to 1955!
I don't believe it!
That's right, Doc. November 12th, 1955.
Unbelievable that old Biff could have chosen that particular date. It could mean that that point in time inherently contains some sort of cosmic significance. Almost as if it were the temporal junction point for the entire space-time continuum. On the other hand, it could just be an amazing coincidence.
Marchy McFly, Marchy McFly. Year 6 of Marchy McFly. Ready or not. Year 6 of Marchy McFly. I'm back, great Scott. It's year 6. 31 straight days for you. In year 6. It's back to the future part 2. Every day. Gonna have a little talk of Marty and Doc. 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 Marty.
Day 19. It's day 19 of the 6th year of Marchy McFly. Happy Thursday, everybody. It is March 19th, which means it is the 19th day of Marchy McFly, the 19th day of Marchy McFly 6. And for the 19th day in a row, I am here talking about Back to the Future Part 2 to you and yes, not them, get them out of the way. Yes, even you. That's right. I'm talking to you directly. Thank you for coming back for another thrilling 3 minutes and 20 seconds of Back to the Future Part 2, where today Marty learns something pretty heinous. And in relation to that heinous act, we say goodbye to a character or a version of a character that we never see again. We say goodbye to a timeline we never see again. And we say goodbye to a year that we don't see for a while. Because today we will be leaving any version of 1985 that we won't see until the end of next year. But we also, as I said, we are not going back to 2015. That's done with. That future is kaput because of what happened here. And now it's kind of like, can they put it back to the original future, or what the original future was at the end of Back to the Future Part 1? And I wonder, you know what's interesting? And maybe it's not interesting, but then again, it's what this entire show is built on. Just thinking through the minutia of Back to the Future. If Back to the Future 1, never happened, and Marty just went about his life, his brother and his sister, they like, his brother worked at Burger King, and his mother was, a bit of a drunk, and had jailbird Joey, an uncle in jail, and George was a pushover, and his sister, she seemed fine, but Marty himself, he kind of was, kind of put together. Yes, he'd show up late for work. Yes, he didn't have a nice car. Yes, Biff got in the accident with the car, so he couldn't go camping with Jennifer. But he had a nice girlfriend. He had a band. He had aspirations. Yes, he didn't have maybe the confidence in his band, and he got that probably from his family. But things weren't all that bad. So my question is, my thought is, and again, it really, well, it does tie into Part 2. If the time travel in Part 1 didn't change the future, right? Didn't change the 1985 at the end of Part 1, then Marty probably would have been better off, because he, at the end of Part 1, got this beautiful truck. And then we find out that he crashed his car. Now, it seems like, we know how things end. It seems like that crash occurred the moment he took the car out for a first drive. Now, again, we see that drive after all kinds of things occur. But my thinking is, Part 1 doesn't happen. Like Marty just lives his life. He's just a kid who goes to high school, who's friends with a crazy old man. And he lives his life. And there's no concern that 30 years from now, Marty Jr. and Marlene, maybe they're not even born, maybe they are, but they don't end up in prison. And Marty and Jennifer are happier. Like maybe they don't have the luxurious life in the exact same house that the McFlys had because of George's, writing. Because obviously A Match Made in Space wasn't his first book, because when he was killed in 1973, he was already called a local author. So he's been an author, but this was his big book. So maybe then that allowed him to maybe say, let's not have the exact same house. Let's maybe get a slightly larger house for a family of 5, perhaps. Or maybe the fact that, here's another thing. The brother and sister were so successful, they still lived at home at that age. Sorry, I don't know. I'm not buying it. It's a little weird. But what the hell was I talking about? I don't know. Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 1. Just a thought in my head that I think I was saying, because we don't go back to 1985. We never ever go back to the first 1985, the original, that would have happened before the movie happened. And we do not go back to the other 1985 that happened at the end of Part 1. We don't. I know people think we do, because we get back to, his parents being successful and Biff not taking over. But it is different, and we'll talk about that next year. But we're not going to see 1985 for a long time. We're never going to see 2015 again. And yet, as much as I say I'm not going to talk about 2015, I am here to talk a little bit about 2015, but not from the movie. Okay, not from the movie, my friends, but from the book. Yes, I've continued reading the novelization of Back to the Future Part 2, and there's a couple things that I noted that were just slightly different, but pretty much not that different, just little details that you might not have, that you didn't have in the movie. Like in the movie, Marty's told that he himself throws his life down the drain, down the toilet, and he's like, I do? He does? I mean, I do? Like, that whole thing never comes up again, never thinks about it. He's just excited to live in Hilldale. In the book, it sticks with him. He thinks about it. And part of the reason he got the almanac was like, in case anything ever does happen, this is a nice failsafe to help get him out of the situation. You know, I don't think he said, I can't lose. It was almost like I could use this to make some money and avoid having whatever Biff thinks happens to me in the future. Another thing, I just wrote down a couple things that I kind of remembered because I was reading this all this morning before work. That when the grandparents come, George hurt himself on the golf course, but it's because a car fell on him and hit him. So that's why he's hanging upside down. They talked about, like, in the movie, he's like, Mom, I can't let them think I'm chicken. No, well, you're right. But here they also talk about him not wanting to seem cheap or poor or chicken. So it's all these things that makes him, that's why he goes above and beyond to pay for things. I think he doesn't want to seem that like he doesn't have, money. They also, the book focuses on how the house actually seems kind of antiquated, like a low budget house with the technology doesn't quite, they still have a voice, the old fashioned voice command and old fashioned this, like everything was, a thing in the future, but the house was antiquated based on, related to, or as I guess, compared to other houses. Like even the cops were looking around like, look at this furniture and everything. It seems so old. So they talked about how Hilldale used to be a nice place. And that's why in the movie, Marty seems so happy about living there because apparently Hilldale was a nice place, no longer. But they also mentioned that Doc talks about, if she meets her old self, she could faint and fall and hit her head, which is exactly what I thought should have happened. Or probably did happen to older Jennifer because she fell. I mean, there was like a couple steps. She fell. She definitely cracked her head open. And while they were dragging the young Jennifer out, you probably could have heard shrieks and screams of Marlene finding her mother just bleeding out all over the McFly floor. We don't see that, but I would have to believe that it probably happened. Also, Jennifer is like, I guess we eloped at the Chapel of Love. That's what she called the Chapel of Love in the book. They didn't mention about anything about any other parents being there. So it seemed like it was only her and Marty in the photo. They talked about video books, like video albums. That's how she learned about Marty Jr. and Marlene being the kids. Marlene McFly, like Marlene's a real name, right? Like it just seems like, I guess that's the closest thing to Marty, and Jennifer doesn't have any say. And yes, and she's like, oh my God, they both look so much like Marty. Like nobody looks like Jennifer. They didn't get any of Elizabeth Shue's looks, or Claudia Wells' looks for that matter. So they also mentioned it a couple times in Downtown 2015 and in the house, in the McFly house, there was a video disc of something of George McFly's books. I don't know if it's an audio book or they made a movie out of it. It seemed like they might have made a movie out of it. But those are just a couple things from the book. And again, that's where I am in the book. I'm still stuck in the house with Jennifer. I'm still stuck in 2015, even though the movie and Marchy McFly, we said we're moving on, but in the book, we're still in 2015. However, I'm not worried about the book right now. I'm more worried about the movie. Let's move on from the book and go back to the movie, Back to the Future Part 2, where today we will be talking about the 1 hour mark to the 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 20 second mark. Yes, we passed that 1 hour. And as I've talked about in the past, with like kind of the certain storytelling, like script structure, if you follow the 3-act structure, and this literally is future, present, past, we kind of hit these marks at half-hour points. And I don't know if I hit it like the 30-minute point for this movie is they're in Hilldale. So they don't actually get out of the till 1980 they don't actually get to 1985 until the 36-minute mark. But it is, it's close enough because now we're hitting the hour mark and now it is time to go back to the past. But before we get there, Marty is left up on the roof. And as I said, this wasn't like, oh no, I'm trapped. Oh no, I'm cornered. He's like, he went up there to meet Doc because he's looking down. He's hitting the thing. He's like, oh, come on. What the hell? What's going on here? Where the hell's Doc? And then he turns around. He's like, oh, snap. Biff's there with his gun. And he's like, hey, great. Yeah, that's a great idea. Why don't you jump? Huh? It'll make it a lot easier. Suicide makes things a lot easier if you just jump. And he's like, what if I don't? And then he holds up the gun. He goes, lead poisoning. And this is when, and I think I talked about this, Biff, he says he owned the cops. He probably owns Mayor Goldie Wilson too, or whoever the mayor is. I wish we got a scene like that. That would have been pretty cool. But Marty climbs up on the ledge. At this point, he looks down. Doc's there. Doc is there. He knows it because why else would he stand? And he says, it's pretty poetic, to McFly. He says, what about the cops? He goes, oh, the cops, I own the cops. Besides, they never figured out that this is the same gun, the bullet that killed your old man. He's like, you son of a bitch. He goes, pretty poetic. What, two McFlys with the same gun? And that's when Marty looks down and just steps off. Like he doesn't jump, he just steps. Now that is 100% Michael J. Fox. I always loved this little scene. Now they must just be falling back into a mat, but he just falls and it just looks so smooth. And I love Biff's reaction to he's like, what? What the hell's that? Like the face he makes is pretty funny. And he goes over to the edge because he really wants to see Marty's, just dead mangled body on the side of the road. But all of a sudden Marty's sitting there, arms crossed, looking cool. Now at this exact point, Biff should have shot him. Like he sees Marty, he's like, oh my God, bam, you're dead. Like he freaks out and lifts the gun up. Instead, he's so freaked out by this that he's like, how is this possible? He doesn't do a thing. He's frozen. And thankfully Doc opens the door with enough force, because those doors don't open up that fast, but he opens up enough force to knock Biff unconscious, basically. Now, Marty, at this point, he's on top of the DeLorean. Again, that's incredible balance. I'd be so afraid to be doing that right now. He is hundreds of feet in the air, and he just climbs in the car, and he's like, you're not going to believe it, Doc. We got to go back to 1955. And that's it. We don't see Biff ever again. When he's done, he's dead to us. And he's dead to reality because we'll never see him again. But they said, yep, we got to go back to November 12th. No, I'm wrong. We see his body lying there one more time. I don't think he's moving. I don't think he's breathing. But the DeLorean takes off. They don't waste any time. They're like, let's go right now. And we see Biff's casino one last time. It's a cool shot of the DeLorean flying by. I don't know where they're flying, just in circles. But they don't have to worry about any of the flying cars, so that's fine. He's like, that's right, Doc, November 12th, 1955. And I do like that they just kind of write it off. Like, who cares? I joked about I've talked about why the hell would Biff choose that date? Why not 3 years later when he's, about to be able to legally gamble? And it's because they want to go in the old movie. They want this to happen. So that's why it was written that way. In reality, why would he do it? He wouldn't do it. He would not go back to 1955. But they kind of play with it here because Doc goes, amazing. I wonder if that date has some sort of significance why it keeps getting chosen. Or maybe it's just a coincidence. Then we see our first glimpse at what causes the time machine to screw up and send Doc back to 1885. We see for one moment the time circuits are acting up. I don't know why. What happened? It would have been cool if something happened to cause this. Like it did get struck by lightning when the time circuits were off. Something like that. Or something, it's ever since the last re-entry, just the time circuits are acting up. That's all they say. We see for a moment, January 1st, 1885. Then it says 1801 for one. No, maybe it doesn't. It looks like it almost said 1801 for a second. 1885, Doc hits it and we see the correct November 12th, 1955 at 6 a.m. That's where they're headed, and that's where we're going for the big finale of Back to the Future Part 2. Oh, but before we get there, yeah, Marty's like, wait, we're going to go right now? And I'm agreeing, like, maybe come up with a plan. Let's go back to our place. Let's go back to the shed, to your garage. Let's get Jennifer. Let's tell her exactly what's going on and how we're going to fix it. No, instead they're just going to go right now. And Marty's like, can I take a shower, please? Like, this is crazy. I must be disgusting right now. But Doc's like, no, we're going. You smell fine. We're doing this. And this is the science logical part that doesn't make sense to me. It's like, but what about Jennifer? What about Einstein? He goes, don't worry, Marty. Assuming we succeed, Jennifer and Einstein should be fine. It'll return back to the original 1985, and everything will transform around them. Well, that doesn't make any sense to me at all, because they brought Jennifer back to that 1985 that they're leaving. They leave her in the swing. So she's there. Now, when they change the past, that 1985 never existed. So how is she there? She should be erased from the timeline. And what they'd have to do is go back to 2015 and steal her back from there, then bring her back, that version back with them to the original 1985. I think. And same with Einstein. Like, because if that's the case, why doesn't Biff just stay the same? Like, this is maybe it's the thing where she's an anomaly. She doesn't actually belong in that timeline, and that's why everything will fix it around her. I don't know. I'm just trying to BS my way back into making it make sense. But if that, George is alive, Biff is, back to a detailer, Lorraine's back to married to George, Jennifer should be, so Jennifer left that time in the time machine and never came back. Like, she should be lost in time. And is that a thing, like being lost in time because you're brought back to a time that you weren't part of, and then that time ceased to exist, and now now you're gone. You were erased with it. Like, I feel like that should be the case, because everyone else in those timelines are erased. Why aren't you erased? Again, I'm just going to put it up to the anomaly. I'm also going to put it up to just, clunky storytelling really quick. The audience isn't going to worry about this. This is a family comedy adventure. Let's not get caught in the details and the minutia. That's the truth of it, even though it's always bugged me because I'm a goddamn nerd. So they land right back outside Lion Estates, coming soon. The same billboard that Marty put the DeLorean behind back in the original movie. They land right back there. And I love that Biff's like, oh my God, Doc, it feels like I was just here yesterday. And he says, you were here yesterday. You were here, Marty. And that's the thing. It almost seems like the joke is time, don't worry about time travel. You were here on November 12th. You are here on November 12th. But really, they left, they went to the future, they came back, one day happened. Maybe it was the next night, maybe an extra day happened in 1985, and then they traveled back to 55. But he was there, and I do like that he says you have to let Biff give. Think he succeeded and give the younger Biff the almanac so that he takes the time machine back to 2015, because that's how they get the time machine so that they can use it. So technically, even though there's one DeLorean that is traveling through time, there are now, at this point, there are now 3 DeLoreans in 1955. I am not counting the one that comes up in Back to the Future Part 4, because the way Back to the Future time travel works, that one shouldn't be there yet. You could say, wait, okay, the time machine that Doc, this time machine car right here, Doc takes it back to 1885 and then puts it in a cave that they find in 1955. So it should be in that cave, but it's not in that cave yet because, things disappear and reappear. Like Marty almost disappeared, then he reappeared, right? I think that's the logic. So right now in 1955, again, going on Back to the Future science, we have this time machine here. We have the time machine that is in the first movie that they are getting ready to, drive down the courthouse square with and have the lightning strike the clock tower. And in a little while, we're going to have the time machine from 2015 come back with Biff. So it is the same vehicle, 3 different versions and 3 different times. There are 3 time machines right now in 1955. And it stays that way until the lightning strikes at the end of this movie. Then that one's gone. That one goes right into the cave. Like all of a sudden it'll appear in the cave. Is that how? I don't know if I'm right or not. Then we have the one that Marty goes back in the first movie, and the Biff one's already gone. So there'll be 2 time machines, right? That's how I'm going with. And I'm going to have more fun with this next year, I think. So he gives Marty some walkie-talkies. He says, this is how we'll communicate. I'll stay here with the car and try to repair it so that we make sure that no one steals it, and we make sure that I don't run. Oh, he gives him walkie-talkies. That's how they'll communicate. I might have said that already. But it makes sure that he doesn't run into himself, and that's where this ends. But there's a great line in the next clip. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. That is it for this 3 minutes and 20 seconds of Back to the Future Part 2. 3 DeLoreans. There might be 2, but there's the third one coming today. Pretty soon. I don't know exactly when Biff gives the almanac. We saw the time, though. We did see the time in the previous, back when he returned the time machine. I just forget it. I know it was November 12th, 1955, but I don't remember the time of day. But I think it was definitely in the morning. So we know now that Biff killed George. We never see them again. And at this point right now, that future hasn't happened yet. It doesn't exist anymore because they went back to a time before it happened. And now they know the one thing that will make it happen. Now, if he gets the almanac, I feel like all that future kind of reconstructs itself and becomes the main timeline. Or isn't it string theory? Like all these times are possible, but the one that they're living through is the one that they're trying to fix. Maybe that's it. Maybe we can do it that way. All these things are possible, but the one you're living in is the main one, and that's the one you're trying to get back to. I don't know. Who cares? It's fun either way. But that's it. That's it for today. We're in 1955, and really, I think it might be the best part of the whole movie is reliving the original movie alongside this movie. Like this movie is going on while the original movie is happening, and I think that is where this movie shines the best. Never mind 2015. The alternate 1985 is fun, but this right here is where the movie is at its best. And no matter what I say about Back to the Future 2, the negative, the picking on it, the ending of this movie is one of my favorite movie endings of all time, and I can't wait to get there. But that's still, I'm going to say 10 days from now is the 29th. 12 days away, so we still have 12 more episodes, or I think so, 12 more episodes of Marchy McFly. You know what I mean. It's going to be done on the 31st like it's done every year. But in the meantime, I still need to go to Florida. I'm going to Florida on Tuesday. I'm going to be in Florida on Wednesday, and we start driving away from Florida on Thursday. So a week from tonight, because it is 9 p.m. right now as I'm saying this, a week from now, I will be sitting on a chair or in a bed at some Quality Inn. My mother-in-law will be snoring. Her dog will be snoring. And I'll probably, even though I've been driving all day, usually I'm still wide awake at this point. And I'll be doing one of two things. I'll be one of three things: watching something on my computer, reading a book, or quite possibly editing the next episode of Marchy McFly. Because, I says to myself, Mikey, and I don't call myself that, but, well, sometimes I do. I says to myself, Michael, that's more like it. I'm an adult. I want to double up on Marchy McFly episodes so that I have a bunch in the can, as they say, a bunch are ready to go so that once I'm in Florida, I don't have to worry about it. They just automatically come out. And, it's Thursday and I haven't done any of that. It's Thursday and I'm doing the Thursday episode. I am completely caught up, but I'm not ahead of things at all. And then I thought, could I do this? Could I pull off Marchy McFly episodes in Florida? I've done it before, but I had everything. Like I did it like through an app, through the old Anchor app that doesn't exist anymore. And that was 5 years ago that happened, right? That's crazy. So could I do that again? Now I'm going to be traveling all day, so I don't have as much downtime, but at the end of each day, I do have some time to, that I go for walks and I talk. So I can talk, record, while walking around doing a little remote recording. Could I do that? And part of me thinks I'm going to do that in some respect. So my thinking is maybe I will have some things ready to go for, to go over the moments of the 3 minutes and 20 seconds. But I don't think I'll have these episodes automated. I think I will include me talking about the 3 minutes and 20 seconds alongside with me talking about what's going on that day, traveling, all that fun stuff. I think I'm going to keep the live aspect or the daily aspect of the show going as much as possible. And that's mainly because I don't want to do 2 shows a day. I'd rather have fun, sitting up on my computer in a hotel room, motel room. We're not getting a hotel, trying to, put something out there. I think that'd be more memorable for me looking back on, oh my goodness, like I did this while, driving and just eating a Cracker Barrel salad, sitting at a Quality Inn table and chair. Oh, the life I'm going to live next week. Yes, Thursday driving, Friday driving. The fun thing is that where by the time tonight hits next week, my adventure will already have begun. The adventure of a lifetime. And I think I want you to come along with me on that adventure. So I hope that you do, but that's still not until Tuesday. I don't go anywhere until Tuesday. In the meantime, I have to be back tomorrow to talk more Marchy McFly, to talk more Back to the Future Part 2, and I hope that you will join me then. But until then, you can follow me on all the socials at Geek Mentality, except TikTok, which is Geek Mentality Mike. You can follow the Facebook page, even though I rarely use it. It's still there, Fans Not Experts. The YouTube channel, which I use daily, is Fans Not Experts. And the website where all my shit is found is fansnotexperts.com. That is it. I am done. I will be back again tomorrow, my friends. But until then, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. And hopefully Doc and Marty succeed, because I like that. Marty goes, what if we don't succeed? And Doc says, we must succeed. And I feel the same way about Marchy McFly. What if I can't do an episode every day while I'm driving back from Florida to Massachusetts? And damn it, we must succeed. It needs to happen. So I'm looking forward to it. But again, that's not until next week. I will see you tomorrow, my friends. But until then, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. And here is my theme song.
This is my podcast, I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe, 'cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time, and I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode.
Fans Not Experts.